Alright guys, so for the first question in this series, I get asked a lot, why is my reel right here? Well, I'll tell you guys, I fish bass tournaments on a very serious level during the summer months. And that oftentimes means I'm throwing a bait caster. And now while fishing a bait caster, I like my reel to be right here. So when I'm out here trout fishing, I prefer to keep my reel on the same side as my bait caster, just in case I decide to go out and fish a winter tournament, my overall casting isn't messed up. Absolute beautiful little fish right here. Absolute stunning little fish. All right, she ate that thing pretty good. We had to do a little bit of surgery. It's a tiny bit of blood coming off this fish. Let's just let her go. There she goes. Heck yeah. Another question I get asked a lot from you guys is how come you throw all your fish back? Well, I'll tell you, I do love eating trout, don't get me wrong. They are delicious fish, but they are best served fresh, you know? And I don't really care for storing trout. So unless I'm going to eat them the day I catch them, I just throw them back. Now all that's personal preference, but hey, if nothing else, it's more for you guys when y'all come. I caught him right here, guys. Seen him move in, caught him right here beside us. Just dropped the bait in front of his nose and let him come on up and bite it. There we go. All right, popped him off nice and healthy and happy here. Heck yeah. So here's a question for you guys I get asked all the time. People ask me, they say, I went out to the trout stream today and I seen a lot of fish, but they wouldn't bite. Did the hatchery feed them? Well, here's the answer, guys. When we're talking about the state of Virginia will hold fish before they stock, and they won't feed them. So when the fish go in, they're hungry. Now a lot of people ask, why would they do that? Why not feed them? Well, the reality of it is, when the stock man puts all of the small trout into his truck, if they're full of food, they'll produce waste. If there's waste in the tank water, well then the other fish can get injured and get sick. So, no, they do not feed the fish before they stock. Now here's a little bit of an exception for you guys. If you're fishing somewhere like this at Blue Springs or other, similar fisheries, if you call ahead of time, they will go out and pull your fish and do the exact same thing. They will hold them. But here's the deal, guys. If you wait till 8 o'clock, 7:30 the night before the day you come and fish, there's a really good chance the fish that are stocked are going to come directly out of the run that morning because they didn't have a chance to go and collect the fish ahead of time. So when you're fishing somewhere like this, make sure you give them a couple days of an advance notice, just so your bite will be a little bit better. But I hope that answered that question. Let's get back to fishing. Another question I get asked a lot, guys, is I went fishing the other day and I caught a fish, but it popped off the line and it landed on the bank. I put it back. Do you think it survived? Now, that's a very interesting question to ask, guys, because trout are very particular when it comes to their slime. Now, you may be wondering, what is trout slime? Well, trout slime is simply that. It's slime that grows on the outside of the trout. Now, you may be wondering, what is trout slime for? Well, trout slime has several purposes, but its biggest purpose is to act as a set of scales. Trout and catfish, which is another very similar species, they have no scales or very small scales. So their body needs slime to help keep parasites and bacteria from getting into the fish and causing it harm. So the question is, with a lot of people, is I drop this fish, do you think it'll survive? Well, the most delicate things on a trout is its gill and its swim bladder. So as long as you did not damage the gills and you didn't squeeze its belly, there's a really good chance the fish will be okay. Now here comes that other question. Well, the fish lost some of its slime. Do you think it'll be okay? A lot of people will tell you if a fish loses its slime, it'll never get it back. Now here's the reality of that, guys. That is 100% false, and this is why. No, that fish will not immediately start growing back its slime like a lizard when it loses its tail. That's not what's going to happen. But what will happen is as the fish swims along in the water and grows in size, its slime will begin to form throughout the entire fish's body as it's growing. Now, if you remove all of the slime from a trout, one of two things will happen. The fish will get bacterias or funguses or parasites, and it will die. Or it will not be able to control its internal temperature properly enough, and it will die of that situation. So you do not want to ever pull all of the slime off of a trout. But if you lose some, the fish will be okay. So the question of I dropped a fish or it popped off, will it be okay? Most likely, yes, the fish will be okay. I hope that answered that question, guys. And I hope that helped you out some. Here's a fish, perfect timing. We just got done explaining fish slime. And now we've got us a big old fat fish we can take a look at here. This fish right here is fired up, guys. Yes, it is. This is one fired up fish. Sorry about the wind noise. It is awfully windy today. It's that time of year. It's either windy or rainy. Take that trout magnet right out of that little beauty. All right, so if you take your finger and you rub up against the fish, you'll feel a thin layer of slime. That would be the fish's slime. Now, although some of it does come off, a majority of it will stay. But if you really want to take care of the fish, guys, all you need to do is keep your hands and hooks out of the gills. Just let him flop a little bit. And try not to squeeze along the belly. There's internal organs here, and there's a swim bladder there. So if you want to keep them safe, protect the gills, the belly, and the throat. Let's let this big girl go. She is ready to take off. Heck yeah. Now, I hope that answered your question, guys. Don't be afraid to handle these fish. They are plenty hardy. They push these things out of big tubes, and they even throw them out of planes up north. So they're good hardy fish. Just don't handle them too much. Put them back in the water as quickly as you can, and they will be a-okay. So a lot of people send comments and they say, what is a citation fish? I heard you say citation. Now here in the state of Virginia, the word citation fish simply means it is a fish that is larger than average and the state considers to be a trophy or a citation size fish. Now all that really means is you caught a fish that is larger than average, and the state will reward you with a certificate if you decide to apply for it. So if you hear me say citation, all that means is it's a big fish from my area. There we go. There's one. Well, guys, do you want to know what NRV stands for? Well, it stands for the New River Valley. That's where I'm from. That's where I fish. And that's what we named the channel after. So now you know. Oh, fighter. Fighter, yes sir, he is a fighter. There we go. Another nice one. Hook popped out right there in the net. Heck yeah, absolute gorgeous little fish right here. Absolute gorgeous fish. There she goes. Heck yeah. All right guys, so the last question I'm going to answer in this Q&A that I get asked a lot is, what is the differences in browns, brooks, and rainbows when it comes to getting them to bite? Well, there's another one. Let's reel in this fish first and we'll get back to that question, I assure you. Wow, back to back beauties too. She's hooked right on the side of the lip. She might stay on until we get her in. We got her. Heck yeah. Fighter. She is a fighter. She popped off in the net as well. Let's get her to calm down so we can have a quick little look. Absolute gorgeous fish. Let's go ahead and let her go right here. Heck yeah. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So back to the question at hand. What is the big difference when it comes to fishing for brooks, browns, and rainbows? Well, the question is actually pretty simple, guys. When the fish are small, anywhere between 8 and let's say 14 inches, all three species, all three strains, will feed on the exact same things, mainly bugs, some small fish, but they're primarily bug eaters. Now, at a certain growth size, whenever a fish gets to a certain size, they change. Now, here's how they change, guys. As far as rainbows go, not much changes. The rainbows will continue to eat bugs. That'll be their primary form of forage. Now, brook trout, they will go and switch at a certain size from eating primarily bugs to eating both bugs and minnows. Now, brown trout are quite different. When brown trout hit a certain age, they feed primarily and almost only on other fish. So if you're at a fishery that has really big brown trout, I would recommend throwing spinners and spoons and bait fish lookalikes. Now, if you're in an area that is around a lot of big brook trout, I would recommend using bug-like patterns and some minnow-like patterns. And now, if you're going to be fishing for rainbows like we are today, worm patterns, any kind of bug pattern will work great. Now, with this being said, you can also catch all three species on a handful of baits at all times. Dough baits work really well at all times. These small worms here will catch all three species pretty much at any time. Minnows will also work pretty much at any time. But if you're really wanting to target and figure out what a fish is and what it's doing differently, just be aware that a big rainbow likes bugs, a big brown likes fish, and a big brook likes both. I hope that helped you. Well guys, if you've enjoyed this little quick Q&A video, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop us a comment down below and let me know any other questions you may want answered. If I have the answers, I will answer them. But until next time, boys and girls, tight lines.